Quick recap. In the last episode, Zio's interest in will led to a fierce battle against Elfaria. Despite unleashing powerful ice attacks from the very start, Elfaria couldn't inflict any real damage on the Thunder Magia Wanda. Zio soon gained the upper hand, overwhelming her with devastating close-range strikes. However, just when it seemed the battle was over, Elfaria stood back up and launched another attack, declaring that her love for Will would help her overcome anyone who stood in her way. As Elfaria openly declares her love for Will, Colette looks visibly shaken to the point where it seems she might crush the railing. Standing nearby, Rose carefully watches her reaction. Back in the arena, Zio stares at Elfaria before bursting into laughter. "You are a fool, witch. All right then. Show me what your love can do." At that moment, Finn begins explaining that Zio's signature technique, Wrathbolt, is unmatched in speed. Lightning constantly flows through his body, dramatically enhancing both his movement speed and reaction time. The result is a relentless assault so fast that ordinary mags cannot even react to it, let alone counter it. However, Elfaria remains completely calm. She looks directly at Zio and asks, "But what good are the boons of Wrathbolt if you can't even move?" Suddenly, she begins chanting a powerful spell. El Glace Fros El 10 Mildas Freuderite. In an instant, Zio finds himself trapped within a massive barrier of ice. Instead of panicking, Zio grins excitedly. "What is this?" Elfaria explains that it is a barrier spell, one that she personally finds incredibly frustrating to cast. The spell requires her to expend nearly half of her magical energy within a designated area before the barrier can even be manifested. To prepare it, she had to continuously cast numerous high-grade spells beforehand. Hearing this revelation, Wignall is stunned. That barrage of high-grade spells was just for this barrier. Lihanna immediately realizes what happened. Elfaria intentionally lured Zio into a situation where he would corner her. Even Eleanor, clearly annoyed, reveals that Elfaria used the exact same technique against her in the past. According to Eleanor, the barrier becomes increasingly powerful the closer an opponent gets to Elfaria. Elfaria casually reveals that she initially created this spell because Will was too shy to sit still and let me hug him. Looking at the frozen Zio, Elfaria confidently declares, "Instead, I've used it on you. And now you're stuck. But not for long. It'll be over soon enough." Rather than being intimidated, Zio simply smirks. "Nasty witch." Unfazed by Zio's insult, Elfaria boldly declares, "Call me whatever you like. But Will is mine. And I will protect him as if he were my bride." Before anyone can react, Elfaria suddenly rushes forward and her fist connects squarely with Zio's face. The impact is so powerful that the Thunder Magia Wanda is launched high into the air. Even Guilford can hardly believe what he has just witnessed. "Great Mage Zio!" Meanwhile, Julius immediately jumps to his feet. "She did it! Open your eyes, you ass! She actually got him!" Nearby, the unconscious Will murmurs, "Elfie!" The sky erupts with violent flashes of lightning. Zio slowly rises back to his feet. A small injury can be seen on him, and for the first time in the battle, Zio begins a full incantation. The usurper approached. As his chant continues, the atmosphere immediately changes. Watching from the sidelines, Carriot raises an eyebrow. "An incantation? I see. So he does tire of playing games." Eleanor quickly says, "It would take an unimaginable amount of magical power to resist a spell of this nature." Knowing exactly how terrifying Zio's true power is, why would she still choose to stand against him? She further adds the reckless savage and calls out, "Lefia! Filvis!" Hearing Eleanor's call, both Lefia and Filvis immediately respond, "Yes, great mage." In the very next moment, all three women vanish from their positions. Back in the arena, Julius stares at the growing storm surrounding Zio and asks, "What is that? I've never seen anything like it." Colette can only watch in shock. "Zio's incantation." Then Scion delivers the frightening answer. He's casting a supreme grade spell. The revelation sends chills through the spectators. But Elfaria shows no signs of backing down. As Zio continues his chant, she begins chanting one of her own. As lightning erupts across the sky, Zio continues his invocation. "Thrust thine unfair punishment unto the falsely accused." The storm intensifies. "Cast the brand of sin into a sea of blood." Then, while still chanting, Zio launches himself toward Elfaria. Zio attacks while maintaining the incantation. May the prominent tumble, see praise turn to hate and put love to sleep. At that moment, the scene shifts to Filvis. Watching carefully, she immediately recognizes the technique being used. Attacking, moving, and casting all at the same time. A textbook example of harmonic casting. An elven technique. Filvis then gives Zio a backhanded compliment. The savage is not above theft. That he has made quite clear. As the battle escalates, Elfaria's ice clones continue to be destroyed one after another. Yet despite losing clone after clone, the spell never stops progressing. Watching this, Julius finally realizes what she's doing. A channeled incantation. One after another, the clones are carrying the spell forward for her. He then recalls his own attempt against the Grand Duke and shakes his head. What I tried to do back then was nothing compared to the real thing. Suddenly, Will regains consciousness. Slowly opening his eyes, he asks, "What's going on? Is that Elfie fighting?" The scene immediately returns to Zio. Surrounded by roaring thunder, he continues his supreme grade incantation. Deception, cut through to truth. At the same time, Elfaria continues her own chant without hesitation. Zio proclaims. With a derisive sneer, the mighty demon sings. While Elfaria counters. With a solemn visage, the wise sage hums. Then, for the first time, both mags speak the same verse simultaneously. An eternal hymn for the ephemeral flora that deceiveth the world. Both Magiavunda raise their hands as unimaginable amounts of power gather around them. Zio reaches the final section of his spell. Eradicate, O kingdom of bellowing thunder, and deliver demise unto the foolish. At the exact same moment, Elfaria reaches her conclusion. Come forth, O world of silver, and deliver peace unto the sky. The instant she finishes, Will's eyes widen in panic. Elfie, wait. No. But it's already too late. An enormous collision of magical energy erupts across the arena. Then, from within the storm of mana, two colossal manifestations begin to emerge. Behind Zio appears a gigantic avatar formed entirely from lightning. Behind Elfaria appears a majestic creature of pure ice. As the incantations conclude, both mags call out the names of their ultimate spells. Zio roars. Vilgus Argo Thorzeus. A divine thunder ball materializes behind him. Meanwhile, Elfaria declares. Glacier Last Albus. A magnificent silver-blue ice bird spreads its wings behind her, radiating overwhelming cold. Then both avatars charge. The Thunder Beast and the Ice Phoenix rush toward one another with catastrophic force. Just before the collision reaches the spectators, Lefia and Filvis suddenly appear. Without hesitation, they cast a defensive spell. Pio Grail. A massive protective barrier envelops the audience. As the two colossal avatars collide, the resulting shockwave was so immense that even people far away can feel it. Far from the arena, Werkner suddenly looks toward the sky and says, "Explosions coming from inside the tower. Only they possess the power to create sounds like that." Standing nearby, Edward immediately understands what is happening. Those blasted beasts. The Magiavunda. The scene then returns to the Bloom Festival. The center of the arena has been completely devastated and the collision site has become a massive crater. The spectators stare around in disbelief. One wizard asks, "Are we alive?" Another replies, "I thought we were finished." Amidst the smoke and debris, Will suddenly looks toward the battlefield and shouts, "Elfie!" As the dust clears, both combatants come into view. Elfaria and Zio are lying on the ground. Both are heavily injured. Zio slowly pushes himself up and says, "Looks like we each landed a pretty good hit. Didn't think you had it in you, Ice Witch." Elfaria smirks despite her injuries. "I was just about to say the same about you." Zio then admits that last spell took everything I had. But even then, he isn't finished. "We've still got a fight to finish, don't we?" Without a hint of hesitation, Elfaria answers, "We certainly do." Both Magiavunda begin standing back up. At the exact same time they declare, "All right then. Let's go." Before either can make another move, however, two figures suddenly appear between them. Carriot and Eleanor. Landing directly in the middle of the battlefield, they immediately halt the confrontation. "Time's up." Elfaria immediately protests. "Out of the way, Eleanor." But Helena refuses to budge and replies, "As much as I support you idiots destroying each other, I'm afraid you've run out of time." On the other side, Zio is even less pleased. "Get lost, you phony bastard." But Cariot says, "We stood by and allowed the two of you to make a spectacle of yourselves. Yet neither of you emerged victorious. How embarrassing. But now that the king has arrived, perhaps he can weigh in on your predicament." Just as the confrontation threatens to erupt once again, a commanding voice echoes throughout the arena. It is none other than Aaron Masteria's. "Enough." The entire stadium falls silent. The king of the tower calmly declares, "I will not tolerate any further friction between the Magia Vunda." Zio immediately clicks his tongue and replies, "Stay out of this, you ancient white beard." Meanwhile, Elfaria refuses to back down. "Your peacemaking is useless, Aaron. I will not stop until the issue of Will's placement is settled." Zio nods in agreement. "I don't see any way of solving this that doesn't involve me taking her down." The two stare at each other with murderous intent. Then Aaron looks at both of them and offers a solution nobody could have predicted. Rock, paper, scissors. Silence. Absolute silence. Every single person in the arena freezes. Even the Magia Vunda looks stunned. Aaron, completely serious, continues, "Attempt to resolve this by any other method, and will fall under my placement. Are we understood? Well, go on. I'll be right here watching." After a moment, Zio sighs. "Fine. Let's do this." Elfaria narrows her eyes. "I will defeat you fair and square." While the two strongest mags in the world prepare for an intense game of rock, paper, scissors, Will finally turns to Julius. Completely confused, he asks, "Julius, mind explaining what's going on?" Julius immediately fires back. "Where should I start? First off, this is all your fault." The contest continues for what feels like forever. One game after another ends in a draw. Neither side is willing to yield. Finally, in the decisive round, Zio throws rock. Elfaria throws scissors. The match is over. Zio wins. The Thunder Magia Vunda immediately throws his fists into the air in celebration. "Eat it, witch. I win." Then he points directly at Will. "To the victor go the spoils. Like it or not, you're coming with me, boy." Will can only stare in confusion. "What?" Meanwhile, Elfaria completely breaks down. "No. I won't let you take him." Looking directly at Will, she cries, "Will is mine." Seeing her like this causes Will to freeze. Will realizes something important. He was never the only one who suffered. Elfaria climbed all the way to the top by herself. She spent 6 years waiting for him. And now, just when they have finally reunited, they are being separated again. Will's expression softens. He walks toward her and gently says, "Is it all right, Elfie? We'll meet again. I promise. I'll make sure of it." Hearing those words, Elfaria begins crying even harder. At that moment, Sarissa appears behind her and gently says, "Come on. We have to go." As Elfaria continues to cry, Sarissa gently says, "Please do not embarrass yourself any further in front of the entire tower, Grand Mage Elfaria." Seeing her like this, Will can only stand there in silence. Then Zio walks over and looks at him with amusement. Coming quietly. "I thought I'd have to drag you to my side kicking and screaming." Will calmly explains that he knows exactly what would happen if he resisted. "If I made any objection, Elfie would come right back out swinging. And she'd only end up hurting herself." Looking directly into Zio's eyes, he says, "Please promise me you won't fight with her anymore." Will then adds a warning that nobody expected. "If that's a promise you don't think you can keep, then I'll take you down right here and now and join Elfie instead." Then Zio bursts out laughing. A loud, genuine laugh. "You've got nerve, kid." Placing a hand on top of Will's head, Zio officially declares, "From this day forth, you belong to the Thunder faction." At that moment, magical energy surrounds Will. His uniform begins transforming before everyone's eyes. Among the Thunder faction members, Guilford smirks and calls out, "Gird your loins, boy. Another member laughs and adds, "Because you're in for a rude awakening." But instead of looking nervous, Will stands tall. Filled with determination, he responds, "Yes, sir." After Will's unexpected recruitment into the Thunder faction, the scene shifts back to the first stratum. We find Will sitting together with Julius. Julius immediately vents his frustration. "Ridiculous. After all that crying from Grand Mage Elfaria, I can't believe you didn't even join the Ice faction." As he says this, he hands Will back his beloved goggles. Will quietly accepts them. But Julius isn't finished. Suddenly becoming angry again, he points at Will and shouts, "Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused me by joining the Thunder faction? When I tried to get her to stop crying, she ran off screaming about how she wanted to quit everything. It took the entire Ice faction just to stop her from leaving. And if you think that's all the crap I've had to deal with, boy, I've got news for you." Meanwhile, Will simply smiles and replies, "Sorry, Julius. And thanks for getting my goggles back." The response instantly takes the wind out of Julius's sails. A moment later, Will notices someone else looking unusually tired. Turning toward Lihanna, he asks, "Is something wrong? You look exhausted." Lihanna immediately replies, "You're part of the Thunder faction now. You'll find out why soon enough." Before Will can ask what she means, Colette changes the subject. "So, does anyone know what this guidance session is about?" Rose responds first. Apparently all of the new wizards who made it into the tower have been called to attend. Sion shrugs. "It's probably just an assembly explaining the rules of the tower." Wignall nods. "That would make sense. Life in the tower is bound to be different from life at the academy." But then the doors open. Claire enters the room. With a warm smile, she begins, "Congratulations on your faction placements. Not a single wizard was left behind." Then she adds, "I expected nothing less from the generation of disquiet." Even the students who struggled during the first bloom eventually found factions willing to accept them. The guidance session is normally an assembly where we explain the ins and outs of life in the tower. But this year is different. Instead of guidance, I will be assigning all of you a highly confidential order. Will and the others stare in confusion. Claire continues, "Each of you will investigate your respective factions. Pay close attention to conversations, actions, and records within your faction." Her tone grows increasingly stern. "If you discover anything suspicious, investigate it and report it immediately." Julius is the first to speak up. "What kind of order is this?" Claire's answer changes everything. The tower has continued investigating the attack on Terminalia. Claire then reveals what their investigation uncovered. "We found evidence that could only belong to a wizard of the tower." Will's eyes widen. "You're saying?" Claire nods. "Yes." Then comes the shocking revelation. "There is a traitor among us."